Donald Trump is currently having a very long temper tantrum after what happened to him at the United Nations this week. Of course, I'm referring to Escalatorgate, where Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump stepped onto the escalator and it just stopped, forcing that tub of lard to have to walk up a flight of stairs, which, if you've watched the video of it, everybody else was already taking the stairs. So Trump, just being his lazy self, wanted to take the escalator, but it stopped. And then, of course, when he was giving his speech, the teleprompter wasn't working properly. And then, of course, we found out later the UN actually did an investigation, and they're like, yeah, actually, your people did all that. The reason the escalator stopped was, of course, because it wasn't a Secret Service agent as I had previously thought. It was actually a photographer. You know, one of the White House photographers ran up the steps and brushed against the little comb guard on the side in a way that triggered the escalator to stop because it believed there was danger. So Trump's people's incompetence did that. Trump's need to be photographed and videoed did that. And so they had to go back in, reset the whole system, and the escalator started working again. Those are things, by the way, that are in fact verifiable in the computer system for the escalator. The teleprompter, on the other hand, that was Trump's people. Your people were running the teleprompter. So that's again on you and your people. But nevertheless, it didn't stop Donald Trump from saying that sinister things happened, and now he wants people at the UN arrested for it. I will read you Donald Trump's very lengthy post from Truth Social in a second, but first, a word from today's video sponsor. By now, you know Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, but almost no one's reporting how ICE will get nearly $40 billion of our tax money each year, making it the most heavily funded law enforcement agency in U.S. history. That's more money than most nations spend on their entire military. So much of our media is either missing the worst of this bill or twisting the language so you think it's all in your best interest. But we've seen the ICE raids ramping up. Now Trump's openly threatening to deport U.S. citizens. This should be the biggest story in America, yet it's buried. Making ground news essential right now is what all of this is doing. They're the only tool I've found exposing these blind spots in the media. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, then analyzing just how far-right and radical each unbiased source actually is, you get way more context than you ever would anywhere else. If we're being honest, we've seen Trump's power grabs throughout history. They said never again, and that means never again everywhere. And right now, it's happening here. So if you want to stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply finding the stories missing from your news feeds, Ground News has you covered. Their app and website is a smarter, more reliable way to stay informed at a time when MAGA is banking on us to stay distracted. So I've partnered with them to get you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I have been using. That comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to everything I've mentioned and so much more. Just go to ground.news/Farron or scan the QR code to subscribe. With at least another 4 years of this, we can't afford to miss these details. So here is the very lengthy post that Donald Trump put on Truth Social, talking about the sinister acts that took place at the UN and his desire for people to go to prison because he felt embarrassed. Here's what he wrote. A real disgrace took place at the United Nations yesterday. Not one, not two, but three very sinister events. First, the escalator going up to the main speaking floor came to a screeching halt. It stopped on a dime. It's amazing that Melania and I didn't fall forward onto the sharp edges of these steel steps face first. It was only that we were each holding the handrail tightly, or it would have been a disaster. This was absolute sabotage, as noted by a day's earlier post in the London Times that said UN workers joked about turning off an escalator. The people that did it should be arrested. Then, as I stood before a television crowd of millions of people all over the world and important leaders in the hall, my teleprompter didn't work. It was stone cold dark. I immediately thought to myself, wow, first the escalator event and now a bad teleprompter. What kind of a place is this? I then proceeded to make a speech without a teleprompter, which kicked in about 15 minutes later. The good news is the speech has gotten fantastic reviews. Well, okay. That's a bridge too far. It's been panned around the world. Literally panned around the world. Okay? It did not get good reviews from anybody other than Lindsey Graham on Fox News. Americans disliked it. You sounded like Hitler, talking about people needing to secure their borders from these other religions coming into their country. Everybody hated it. But he continues. Maybe they appreciated the fact that very few people could have done what I did. What? Not fall on an escalator? Is that a skill you think people don't have? That's the only thing you did, other than, again, sounding like Hitler. You didn't fall down. I spoke without a teleprompter. Bitch, I do that every day, for hours every day. You ain't special. Anyway, he continues. And third, after making the speech, I was told that the sound was completely off in the auditorium where the speech was made, that world leaders, unless they used the interpreter's earpieces, couldn't hear a thing. The first person I saw at the conclusion of the speech was Melania, who was sitting right up front. I said, "How did I do?" And she said, "I couldn't hear a word you said." This wasn't a coincidence. This was a triple sabotage at the UN. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. I'm sending a copy of this letter to the Secretary General, and I demand an immediate investigation. No wonder the United Nations hasn't been able to do the job they were put in existence to do. All security tapes at the escalator should be saved, especially the emergency stop button. The Secret Service is involved. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Is that really like your biggest concern on the planet right now? Right? There's nothing more important anywhere on the planet other than I almost could have tripped on an escalator and smashed my orange face into the steel steps. Nope, that's your biggest concern? Okay, yeah, we're totally a serious country, right? Like nothing abnormal about any of this. The man is insane. The man is suffering from so many psychological and neurological conditions that you would need a team of doctors working around the clock to be able to diagnose them all. But this is our president. This is what he does. This is who he is. This disgusting slob of a guy who can't let little things go, who thinks everything that happens to him is part of some grand conspiracy. Sometimes things happen. But not according to Trump. Anything bad ever happens to him, it's sinister forces out there in the universe working against him, by God. But whatever. Another day in Crazy Town, America, right? Thanks for watching, everyone. You know, we're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.